there's no such thing as a risk-free investment. But if you've got education, you know what you're doing, it's never a gamble. It becomes a calculated risk. So if it's a normal month and full occupancy, it's £9,000 profit each month. The difference between where you are now and where you want to be is taking action and having the right mindset.
And our first case study is Richie Miller. So Richie, hopefully you are there with us.
Hi, Simon. Yes, I am.
Good. Now, obviously, you're based down in Bristol, but you decided to invest in Sheffield. So, Richie, do you want to give us a little bit of background before we start going through the slides, just about you, what you did before property, and why you're investing outside of area? And I want everyone to listen very carefully here, because people think they have to invest where they live. Where as long as you have a good power team in location, you can invest in a different city. You're going to invest in a different country if you're doing for overseas. It's all about having the team on the ground. So listen very carefully if you want to invest outside of your area. So Richie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I used to be an army officer, and that's when I met you, Simon. When I got married in 2015, and then children arrived a couple of years later, priorities changed, and looking at my life and where the army was going and how much we were moving around, I wanted to change my life and do something different. And that's why I started looking at property after reading your book. And I left the army 2 years ago now, thanks to property, which has changed my life. And because we've been married 8 years and we're living in our 6th house now. 5 of those houses were from the army. And because of that reason, that's why I chose to pick one location and invest in that location. And that's why I chose Sheffield.
And so, I know you were down in Bristol at the time you did this particular deal. Where are you living now? Are you still Bristol?
So, yeah, still in Bristol. We're geographically in the middle of both sets of grandparents. And Bristol's a nice city, so we decided to stay here.
Yeah, it's a lovely city. And so what was there a particular connection or affinity to Bristol, or was it just somewhere you thought deals would stack up really well there?
A friend of my wife's, the girl my wife used to live with and work with, her friends, her brother runs and owns his own estate letting agency in Sheffield. So that was the connection to Sheffield.
Right. And I think if you're looking at areas where you don't live, it's really important to think, okay, where do you know other people? Maybe you've studied somewhere, or you've lived somewhere in the past, or you've got friends or family who know other people there. So that's a very logical connection. That's great. So do you want to share your slides, Richie, please? I'll let you drive through these if you want.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I haven't got them open.
Okay, well, can we share my screen? Is that okay? Can we do that? Or do we need to share Richie's screen? Yeah, okay. Is that Richie's or is that mine?
Okay, I've got them open now if you want me to share it, Simon.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, let's see yours. It's so you can drive through, that will be better. And can we make sure, Alyssa, briefs everyone about that? Yeah. Okay, great. We can see your slides. Brilliant.
Cool. So this is my 48 beds HMO. This was my 3rd ever property purchase. I started with a 3-bed before Mastermind, did a 6-bed HMO at the end of Mastermind year, and then a couple of months after finishing that 6-bed, moved on to this 48 beds. I said to the letting agent I was using, all this is up in Sheffield, these properties. I like this 6-bed, it's gone really well after doing the refinance. I want to do more of them. He laughed at me and said, well, how big do you want to go? I laughed at him back and told him what Simon says, doesn't matter how big the deal is, if it stacks up, I can find the money using the knowledge and network that I've got. So he laughed at me and showed me this one, the Marples, 48 beds, Mega HMO. It had been on the market for about 18 months. 2 sales had fallen through, so the owner was getting more and more motivated to sell it. He was an old boy in his 70s. Him and his business partner had been together 40 years, were basically retiring, and they were selling almost half the portfolio for a capital injection and then splitting the rest of the portfolio in half and going their separate ways for retirement. It's leasehold in the centre of Sheffield, 48 bedrooms, 21 bathrooms when we bought it. And the strategy was to buy it, refurb it, do a refinance and hold on to it as a cash cow. The asking price, 1.8 million for this, full students.
So let's just stop there for a minute. Let's stop there for a minute. So
Yeah.
a couple of things. So let's explain. So it's not one property with 48 rooms all connect. So aren't there kind of on each floor, isn't there a number of flats? So how's the actual structure inside so people understand?
Yeah. So can you see my cursor? There's
Yep,
two commercial
yep.
units on the ground floor. First floor, second, third, and fourth floor. We've got 11 rooms on each floor, and each floor has its own HMO license. And then the fifth floor, you can't really see up on the roof, has got 4 bedrooms, so it's too small for an HMO license.
Yeah. Okay, great. So it's kind of split on different floors, but they're all in one big block, basically.
Yeah, one leasehold for the whole thing.
This is like buying lots and lots of HMOs, but all at the same time, all in the same location, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And being on the market at 1.8 million, you know, most people probably wouldn't even be searching or would find something like this. And as you said, been on for a long time. The owners want to retire, they want to move on. 2 sales fallen through. That's going to really add to them. So we must always look for these motivated sellers. You're always going to get better deals, more flexible deals if you're working with motivated sellers. So great. Sorry, I'll just jump in occasionally because I want to put out some of the key learnings. So take it away, Rich.
When I was looking at this, I had 2 big problems to start with. One, no money. And the second one, when I spoke to my broker, he just laughed at me and said, there's no way you can get a mortgage. You've got no experience. Your 6-bed HMO doesn't cut it close. You can't buy this. And when you look at this, at a 1/3 deposit with the stamp duty and solicitor fees and stuff, you're looking at £680,000 to buy it before you do any refurb work. So the first thing I did was negotiate a discount and agree to buy it for £1.5 million. And then my broker was clever. He found a product that would lend at the value, not the purchase price. And a RICS valuation as part of the purchase valued it at 1.8 million. So 300,000 discount I'd negotiated, that counted towards equity, towards the deposit. And then applying multiple dwelling relief, because there are 5 separate dwellings, it reduced the stamp duty from 170 down to 60 something. So all in, we needed just over 300,000 to buy it, which is a lot better than the 680.
So a couple of important points there. So there's very specialist knowledge being used there. Because this is not a normal HMO, this is very commercial finance. Often they will look at the value based on RICS and lend on that. So that's one important point. And then also the multiple dwelling relief, whereby instead of paying the stamp on 1.8, you're paying the stamp duty on the smaller units, saves £100,000, right? But that's really important. Just shows how important it is to have specialist knowledge to make sure you're structuring these things in the correct way. Otherwise, many solicitors who didn't know what they're doing might say, oh yeah, it's, you know, 100 and whatever £1,000 of tax. So you've got to get the right power team together who've done these kind of deals and understand these deals. Really important.
Yeah. And then the second problem, getting the mortgage, I invited Chris, the owner of the estate letting agency I was using, to come in as a JV partner with me on this. With his experience with the letting agency, they've managed this building and other large HMOs with his name on the mortgage as part of the limited company. We were able to get the finance for it. So that solved the 2 biggest problems.
Excellent, good. And I know you had your JV partners who actually helped put some of the money in as well as give the ability to get the finance, right?
Yeah. So I put no money into this one myself. It was all JV partner money for this one. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, excellent. Carry on.
Yeah, so all students before and the previous owners, they were generating £180,000 a year gross income. Actual purchase price, as I said, was 1.5 million, and bought it at the end of August 2019. We started doing the refurb, and we're changing all the kitchens and doubling the number of bathrooms. Well, more than doubling the number of bathrooms. We went from 21 up to 47 bathrooms. So that every room became an ensuite, had a private off-suite bathroom. That was the main bit of work. The refurb budget was 150,000, and we had 40,000 in reserve for just contingencies. Ended up costing 320,000 to do the refurb.
And that's a big. So just for everyone's benefit, there, what was the main overspend? What did you spend more than you expected?
So it took longer because the project manager we had, his experience was turning 3 beds into 6 beds and renovating houses and stuff. He was really good.
And this is very, very different to that, isn't it?
Yeah, this is very different to that. As a trade, he was excellent, but managing up to 20 people over 5 floors and getting all the supplies in at the right time and the right people in the right time, he was out of his depth and it didn't work. He was working hard, but just working ineffectively. He was a bad project manager, but a good trades. I ended up eventually making the decision and we sacked him. And then it took a while to get a different group of builders and stuff to come in and take over. So we lost some time there, and they had to go back and re-waterproof all the bathrooms and redo a couple of other things. So that's what ate up all the money and cost so much.
It's very hard to get one building company to take over somewhere, so they don't quite know what's been done or where they're up to. So very difficult to do. So the learning point for me here is, when you're doing bigger deals than you've normally done, don't assume your current team are capable of going up to the next level. You need to find people who've done it at that correct level, make sure they're fit for purpose, and get some testimonials, get some references from them, because there are different sets of skills, not just adding a naught on. There's a whole extra complexity when you're managing so many extra people. So really valuable lesson there, Richie. Thank you for sharing that.
So we eventually finished the refurb at the end of January 2020. And then we were about 45% occupied in March 2020 when first lockdown and COVID hit, which sucked. That was a difficult year and a half trying to get occupancy levels up around moving tenants in and doing viewings and working through all of that and covering the cash flow for all the outgoings and the mortgage payments in particular. We managed it, we survived, and then we got the refinance through over 12 months late. And then during COVID, we had 3 different tenant types: students, professionals, and for a while we tried doing serviced accommodation on 1 floor, and that was working really well. But then the government brought out the rule of 6 as part of COVID, so we had to close it down because there's no way Airbnb let us have 11 bedrooms being advertised for short stay stuff. So now we've just got professionals and students.
Yeah, the way you adapt, it was good. Now, obviously, we said yesterday you shouldn't mix tenant types, but these are, so I guess you'll have one floor that might be students, one will be young professionals. So you're not mixing the tenants, because it's like a number of different self-contained units within the building, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So one floor, we've got 2 floors for students, the other 3 floors are professionals now, and we don't mix students and professionals together on the same floor.
And then obviously by adding on suites, you've obviously massively increased the rental income on this. You've then increased the commercial valuation now to over 3 million. And so you've refinanced to be able to pay back the JV partners, pay back all the private finance. So you've got no money left in this deal. It's an infinite return investment and still making a pretty good monthly cash flow, right?
Yes. Yeah. If we were fully occupied and there were no arrears, our gross income each month would be 24,000 each month. Our outgoings are about 15, depending on how much maintenance is going on. It could be 13 and a half, 14. It could be up to 16, 17 on some months. So if it's a normal month and full occupancy, it's £9,000 profit each month.
Yeah, which is just, is that split 3 ways then?
Yes, split 3 ways, although I'm in the process of buying out one of my JV partners this year. That's with solicitors at the moment.
Yeah, fantastic. So really, you're making on a property that's got none of your own money invested, that you didn't have to put any money into. Obviously, you found the deal. You've obviously worked hard, and you've battled through a very difficult time during COVID, which is exceptional circumstances that no one could have planned for, right? And at the end of it, you've got this asset that's got a lot of value in it, and you're personally making 3K a month from this deal, and that's only a third of the profit, by the way, which is pretty impressive, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever think you would do anything like this when you first started on Mastermind?
No, not at all. It's only because of Mastermind and you. It's your fault I did this.
Yeah, I don't blame me, but you're the one who took the action, which is great. And I just want to congratulate Richie. Anyone could do these kind of deals if you get the power team around you. And I think the way that you were creatively thinking about this, saying, well, okay, I don't have the money, I can't even get the finance, but how can I do it? That's a great question to ask yourself. You might want to write that down, everyone. How could I do this? How can I do this? Rather than thinking, I can't do this. How could I do it? and that will really get the creative juices flowing. Richie, this has been a great case study. Have you got any tips you'd give other people who are looking to do stepping up and doing mega deals like this? 1 or 2 tips?
Yeah, top 2 tips probably. There's no such thing as a risk-free investment, but if you've got education, you know what you're doing, it's never a gamble. It becomes a calculated risk. And then we all want to be, we're all where we are at the moment, and most of us want to be somewhere else, and that somewhere else is generally more income and less time earning that income. So more time freedom and more money. And the difference between where you are now and where you want to be is taking action and having the right mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. That's great. Richie, thank you so much for sharing. Really great deal. And hopefully I'll see you very soon.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers, Simon. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks so much. Awesome. Let's give Richie a round of applause, please, guys. I do hope you got massive value from watching that inspirational case study. Hope you took lots of notes and start using some of the hints and tips in your property investing journey. Now, if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and make sure you hit the bell icon so you'll get notified whenever we bring out new content and training that's going to help you be a more successful investor. If you got any comments, just list those below, and I'll come back and answer as many as I can. And by the way, there's going to be a link below for you to get some further training so you can find out how you can get the kind of results we've just been talking about in this interview. As ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. See you in the next video we've lined up for you.